You are listening to the Freedom Podcast with Van Moody. Our desire is that you begin to live in freedom every day. Freedom in your mind, freedom in your finances, freedom from the external pressures of life. Prepare to be transformed as we seek to be free, mind, body, and soul. Let's get started.
Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of The Fellowship. And on today, we're going to talk about brotherhood, because in order to be a real man, a great man, a successful man, you can't do it by yourself. When I think about brotherhood, one of the key verses that comes to mind is Proverbs 17:17, that says that a friend loves at all times and a brother is born for adversity. It's interesting that that's a biblical truth, but often we don't allow that truth to be walked out in our lives, because as men, it's easy for us to become introverted, particularly during times of adversity. It's interesting that the scripture says that a brother is born for a time of adversity, but often what we do as men is when we encounter adversity, we retreat from everybody else instead of embracing those that are called to our lives to help us to navigate adversity the right way. A brother is born for adversity. You know, brotherhood is a lot different than just a mere friendship. Real brotherhood is forged through adversity. You know, real brotherhood is really about who's in your foxhole. Who is it that you can count on when the chips are down? I'm not talking about a fair weather friend. I'm talking about a covenant partner. And that brotherhood that's born through adversity is forged through adversity, and it is maintained by faith and love and mutual support. One of my favorite biblical examples of this is the bond that existed between Jonathan and his armor bearer. I love that story when the nation of Israel is at war and Saul and the rest of the men are in retreat mode. But God put something on Jonathan's heart. And he believes that he can not just retreat, but advance against the enemy. And there's a strong possibility that God's going to give him great success. And I love how his armor bearer says to him, do everything that's in your heart because I'm with you. That's a great example of them encountering adversity. But what happens? You see that brotherhood emerging. One of the things that I want to challenge you with is to think about every obstacle as an opportunity for you to discover who your real brothers are. Won't be everybody in your life, but there will be some covenant partners and real men that God brings into your life in the difficult and most harrowing times, because that's really the way that you identify real brotherhood. I have been blessed by some absolutely incredible brothers in my life. And I'm grateful for the hard times and the difficult times, because those were the moments that helped me to really understand who they were. I know what it's like to have lots of people around and people telling you how much they love you and all of that. But then I also know what it's like to be alone when the chips are down and you're going through the most difficult moments of your life. But it was in those moments that my real brothers identified themselves. And I value those men. And I thank God for those men. And so that's what we want to talk about in today's episode of The Fellowship. Real brotherhood, spiritual kinship, not fair weather stuff, covenant partners that are with you, and the importance of the fact that every man needs that. You need to think about, the Lone Ranger had Tonto. You think about Batman had Robin, right? You think about all of these like dynamic duos and friendships through the years. But the point is, there was nobody that made it through by themselves. They always had somebody with them. And I think we need that. And I think we need to have more conversation around it. Too many men are suffering silently. Too many men are projecting an outward appearance, but on the inside, they're crumbling and falling apart. That's what we're going to talk about on today's episode of The Fellowship.
Introducing A Year to a Better You, the transformative devotional that guides you on a year-long journey of self-discovery. Each day, you will learn more about God, His Word, and yourself. A Year to a Better You features a daily devotional and a soap journal perfectly paired to help you learn more about transformation and transparency as Christ followers, your freedom and identity in Christ, and most of all, the power that you have because of His faithful love. Visit vanmoody.org today and start your journey with a new year to a better you.
I'm here with some incredible men. I'm here with my brothers because I wanted them to weigh in on it. Man, what do you think?
I think what you said, truthfully, is very vital in this walk that we are in on a daily basis, because everybody's with you when things are great.
Yeah.
Phone is ringing, people are reaching out and all these things. And then when things hit the fan and you're in a place where you find yourself all alone, and you find out truly where your real friends really are. You find out who's really there for you, and not for you just because of what you can provide for them or give them access to, but they're really there for you. Or maybe you find out too that God positions the right people, as you said, they kind of rise to the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
Those people come up and you go, wow, like those are the real people I needed, those true divine connections. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's important. I have learned that lesson the hard way. But I've also realized, too, that trying to suffer in silence or walk alone is not healthy.
Yeah.
And you can't do it. You can't do it. And, we hear that adage that, I'm in a silo working by myself, factoring to get this thing done. In all reality, you can't do that by yourself.
Yeah.
And connecting to the right people and having those right relationships are so critical to your growth and the development, and that true iron sharpening iron is you can't do that alone either.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know so many men that are not just struggling, they're struggling and they are unhappy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There is no joy in their life because they don't have any brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, one of the interesting things about brotherhood is that just in all relationships, there's a vulnerability that you can have with brothers that you can't have with friends. Mm-hmm. And friends are good, like Sly just talked about. When times are going good, it's great to have friends around. But when you hit the adversity of life, whether it's in your marriage or whether it's a health crisis, that's where brotherhood is generally the most significant.
Yeah.
I think I didn't have a real health crisis, to be quite honest. Now that I'm understanding, I had to go to the doctor, and I got some news that was troubling enough for me to pick up the phone and call him and say, hey. He said, all right, this is what we're going to do. He didn't say, this is what you're going to do. He said, this is what we're going to do. So I knew that I wasn't in it alone.
Yes.
You understand? And it got me moving and doing the thing. Now I went to another doctor, and they said, I don't know what they was talking about. But it was great, because the brotherhood test, well, I knew who my brother was.
There you go.
I knew somebody that was going to hold me accountable
and
help me in the time of my adversity. And I think that's important. But then something else that comes to mind is this idea and the misnomer for us, maybe if you're a man and you're watching this, to know this, that there's a difference between what I call like malice or malicious behavior and personality differences. Right?
That's good, man.
And this is real important because, if you do have a brother or you have some brothers that are real friends or that are friends that become brothers, you got to understand that their personalities might not be the same as yours.
Yep.
Like, I'm from Philadelphia. Everybody talks loud. Everybody seems like they're arguing with each other, but they're really not. It's just how they talk, But with that in mind, I could be having a heated conversation. Sly was in a conversation I was having with my little brother. And I was crucifying him at my house, right? Yeah. But the thing is, afterwards, he called me the next day. He said, man, what you doing? I was like, no, come on, let's go get some pizza. Like, understand? Because we were just having a conversation that was in the heat of a moment. It wasn't like, no, that's my brother.
Right.
You understand? And make sure we understand that, because sometimes we'll say, oh, man, the way he talks to me, man, doesn't make me feel brotherly. I was just like, it just be the way Debo is. Debo is Debo. Like,
But I think that's healthy, too, because you do have somebody that in the end of the day, even in the midst of that, it was for the betterment of helping that person be better.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a difference in
Right.
It's like always your parents. You say it's not. My mom used to say this. It's not what you said. It's how you said what you said.
Right.
So it's how you're saying what you're saying, and I think Bishop, you've talked about this a lot of times in many different spaces about leading with love.
Yeah.
And as leaders leading with love, and if you're able to lead with love in a situation, the person even on the receiving end of that can see the heart of yours and realize it's coming from a good space.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, there are people who've had where somebody has been in that very aggressive nature where it's made them feel like they're being cut down and all these things. And so they revert to, well, I'm never opening up to anybody else. I'm never going to put myself in that position because the last time I did, the person who was supposed to be that brother for me made me feel as though, I was absolutely at the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
That's the part.
Yeah.
See, so brotherhood for me, there's a giving and there's a receiving.
Yeah.
And for me, I've been feel like I'm there for the giving. I'm real good for the giving. You call me, let's talk. If you need something, I'm gonna do my best. If you need me to be there, I'm gonna do my best. It's the receiving part that's been hard.
Wow. Okay.
And the receiving part has been hard because when you feel like you had somebody that was with you, but then it turned into, where are they?
Yeah.
Or when you called,
I understand.
they don't, and then you text or whatever, you reach out and they're not there, and it's like, man. And so what happens is, it's like you realize, and that's where the Lord has really been growing me in this. I've known the importance of having some brothers, and I'm grateful to have some. And then at the same time, it's who are the ones that God is revealing, this is your brother right here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk to him about this thing that you've been dealing with, that you've been going through. No, these are some folks right here that you can count on them, that you can go ahead and say, listen, they're gonna pray with you about this thing that you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a part of, I think, like I said, brotherhood is the giving and the receiving. You got to be able to have both. You can't just be in the position, because you never know when you're that person that you're going to have to receive. It's not, you got nothing to give, you got to receive it.
Yeah.
That's good. It's funny you say that. Like, I feel like I was the same, bad at receiving. But I feel like for a long time, I wasn't really a good brother, honestly, because all of my relationships were competitive. You grow up playing sports, like all my friends were basketball players. Me and my brothers, we fought at home like every day. But the thing that I noticed as I got older was that, me and especially my older brother, we would fight, but like when we left that house, you wasn't gonna touch me.
Yep.
You get what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and it was almost like we knew there was a bigger enemy. You get what I mean, to deal with.
Yeah.
And that kind of muted a lot of the competitiveness. And I think sometimes, like, as Christians in our minds, if we're not cognizant of the fact that literally there is another bigger enemy, and like your little competition or whatever it really doesn't make sense in light of the fact that, like, man, people are suffering, silently. Like, people are all going through fighting their own demons. But what changed it for me, honestly, was I had to be loved by another man non-competitively. I had to be in a relationship with a person, because I didn't understand what that was.
Wow, that's good.
You get me? I had no concept for, like, having a relationship with a person that was a guy that wasn't competitive. But someone pursued me, and they gave that to me, and it's like the lights came on, and I understood what that was, and then I could give that to someone else.
Yeah, that's extremely significant. And let me tell you why, because I think one of the problems in the African-American community in certain spaces, and I've encountered this a lot here in Birmingham, is that competitive spirit more than the cooperative spirit. And, it's interesting because the more things change, the more things stay the same. And I say that to say that historically, there was this profound debate when, the black community was coming out of segregation into integration. It's a profound debate between W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. And the debate was on whether or not we really needed integration. And one of the arguments from Booker T. Washington was we didn't need it because what segregation did was it forced us to learn how to depend on each other. It forced the brotherhood, if you will. And the fear of integration for him was that we would be so busy trying to fit into other spaces that we would no longer look out for each other. And I've seen a lot of that. And so I think what you're saying is so spot on, because I think that there are so many men that miss out on the benefits and the blessing of brotherhood because they see every man as a competitor. They have such a scarcity mentality that they feel like, I can't support you and be your brother because if you succeed, then I lose. And that's not the case. You know, when you think about a basketball team, when guys play together as a team, teams win championships. Individual players may win games, but they're not going to win championships. And it's the same principle in life. When we come together and coalesce, and when we have that brotherhood, everybody benefits from it.
That's good. Man.
You know, but we have to begin to see each other non-competitively, and that's, you can't support someone if you are too busy competing with them. You know, but to understand that, yo, if I support Sly, then not only does he win, but I win because my brother's winning. If we could just get that right, we can change communities. You know, we can change the country if we would just get that right. And, you know, we're coming close to our time, but maybe what we need to get into in the bonus time with our partners is that was what was modeled by Jesus. If Jesus had a brotherhood, why do we think we can't have one? Isn't that something?
I'm thinking that we could interpret, I come that you might have life for Jesus and his brothers as this: I'm come not to compete with you, but to complete you.
Come on.
You understand? Like, you know, not to have competition, but to have cooperation with you. That's what
it.
brotherhood is, you know? Yeah, so.
And whenever you look at any organization or any group of people, no matter how small, that have accomplished great things, it's never been done by one person. It's always been done by a complementary understanding that you have skills that I don't have, or you have gifts that I don't have, I have gifts that you don't have, but when we put it all together, in that brotherhood, man, we thrive. You know, and we need that understanding deeply in our communities. We need it in churches. You know, we need it in families. You know, it's sometimes unfortunate. You got great relationships, but I also know the flip side, and I know a lot of people know the flip side of, man, you know, your own family not supporting you. You know, and so this notion of what a real brotherhood is, that I'm there to cooperate and to complete, not to compete, is, I think, an understanding that we all need to embrace. Wow. Well, listen, we hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. We're going to jump into some bonus content, and we're going to keep talking about this because we're just scratching the surface. But we hope that we will see you next time on The Fellowship. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Freedom Podcast. If you find inspiration, education, or fulfillment in our episodes, consider becoming a partner. Your donation ensures that we will continue delivering quality content alongside some of today's leading experts. Connect with us by becoming a Freedom Friend, a Freedom Champion, or a Freedom Funder. Together, we will continue to produce content that provides hope and healing. Thank you. Your generosity is appreciated.